Hi, if you know me, you're well aware of my love for Harry Potter. It was the first book I ever read, and it was also the first movie I ever saw in theaters. It's basically the reason why I love movies and I want to pursue a career in filmmaking. One could even say that it's the reason why I do everything in life. Honestly, I love Harry Potter. I own all the movies. I have a tattoo of Harry Potter. I have a cloak. I have wands. I have toys. I have everything you can think of. I am a huge Potterhead. And with that said, let's get on with today's video. So last year, with the release of Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, I went back and rewatched all the films again for like the billionth time. I also did an in-depth review of each of them on my Letterboxd. But for one of the movies, I did an even more in-depth review, and that was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. There's always been so much I wanted to say about this movie, and I think that now it's the perfect time to put it in video form. Basically, what we're going to be talking about today is how, in my opinion, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 is the most underrated Harry Potter film to date. Let's get started. So in 2009, it was announced that the final Potter movie would be split into two parts, having the final book in the series being pretty big. One could say that the fourth movie deserved a similar taste, or the fifth, or the sixth. I'm just saying. The first part would be released in November of 2010, while the final one would hit theaters in July of 2011. The hype was real. Harry Potter was the first franchise to introduce the method of splitting the final movie into two parts, and in my opinion, it's the only one that did it properly.
Hey, you came home. Yeah.
The problem with splitting a film into two parts is that clearly the first part is going to be slower paced, less interesting, with less action than the final part. In the case of Potter, Deathly Hallows Part 1 was well received, and it pumped the audiences even more for what was to come. Oddly enough, it was quickly forgotten. Sadly, Part 2 overshadowed the brilliant film that Part 1 is. And, in my most unpopular opinion, may I say that it's probably better. Hear me out. Part 1 starts with one of the most heartwarming sequences of the entire franchise. The weight of the end is here. We as fans feel it. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are not kids anymore. Not only are they not kids, but they are about to embark on an adventure outside of Hogwarts. This is not school anymore. This is the magical world against them.
Come on, Dudley, hurry up!
I still don't understand why we have to leave.
Because it's not safe for us here anymore.
Hermione obliviates her parents in case anything dreadful happens. Harry is left alone in Private Drive as his aunt and uncle leave with Dudley. It is important to note that there is a touching deleted scene here where Petunia and Harry speak. It is very, very beautiful, and I'm actually kind of mad it was deleted out of the movie.
I have lived in this house for 20 years. And now in a single night, I'm expected to leave.
They'll torture you. If they think for a moment you know where I'm going, they'll stop at nothing.
Do you think I don't know what they're capable of? You didn't just lose a mother that night in Godric's Hollow, you know. I lost a sister.
The film also has the darkest tone any Potter film has seen yet, while also being really sad and melancholic. Alexander Desplat also welcomes us back into the wizarding world with Obliviate, a heartbreaking and intense melody to set up the mood of the film. Everyone brings their performances to the max. It's the beginning of the final adventure, and we know it. They know it. Moving along, Part 1 displays in the first 20 to 30 minutes that this is the most different Harry Potter film to date. The pacing is definitely slower. The characters are faced with loneliness, and their adventure is drowned by mystery and confusion. But the real halt comes after the third big action scene in the movie, when the trio finds themselves in the forest, fighting Voldemort's necklace. This is the real reason why this movie is either hated or loved. This is where the movie proves how different it is. The film becomes a character movie. Our three characters are being challenged by an object that is surrounding them with darkness.
Defender! Reducto!
There's an extremely dark montage of these characters walking through beautifully shot fields that moves to the beat of a man naming wizards that have disappeared. Not only that, he says, luckily, the list is short today. It is not. It immerses you in how dark and dangerous this world has become. Truly, no one and nowhere is safe. The film adapts Harry and Ron's departure in a heartbreaking, very intense way. It was shot handheld to truly showcase how intense it is. Note that very limited scenes have been shot handheld in the Harry Potter franchise.
Ron, please take the Horcrux. You wouldn't be saying any of this if you hadn't been wearing it all day.
Do you know why I listen to that radio every night, dear? To make sure I don't hear Ginny's name. Or Fred. Or George. Or Mum.
What, you think I'm not listening too? You think I don't know how this feels?
Oh, you don't know how it feels! Your parents are dead! You have no family!
Stop! Stop!
Finally, go! Go then!
Harry and Hermione are left alone to have one of the most beautiful scenes in the franchise, one that was not in the book. These characters find themselves alone in a tent, sad. Harry gets up and dances with Hermione to the song Old Children from Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. This song speaks of children who are dead and tell their mother they are okay. It is such a deep and heartwarming scene. The performances are so strong. These characters have gone through so much and they really don't know what's going to happen next. You may call this movie slow because most of it is just characters searching for objects, but it's more than that. It's the second to last film in a franchise that shared with us, the audience, the path these characters took while growing up. We know them. We know everything they've been through. The moment before it all ends, these characters deserve a moment to realize this is all coming to an end, and it will definitely be harder than we thought. They're not kids anymore. It's not about learning spells. It's about doing what they have to do to save the world and the weight that comes with that. As far as book adaptation goes, part 1 is fairly faithful. They leave some things out, but it doesn't ultimately hurt the film, unlike a million things that were left out in part 2. The reason I enjoy watching part 1 more than part 2 is because oddly enough, it gives me a sense of conclusion better than part 2. All the characters here behave like everything is really coming to an end, while in part 2, there is this sense of things being rushed from director David Yates, as he decides to quickly get to the war and then end the film. Part 1 takes its time to show the weight that the previous movies have brought these characters, the difficult journey they had to take, and the dangers of it. As a huge fan of the movies and books of the Wizarding World Rowling created, part 1 is the movie that hurt me the most. The characters I love are truly hurt and in danger. The filmmaking aspect adds a lot, with the amazing yet really empty cinematography, using a lot of wide shots to showcase how alone these characters are and how empty this world is starting to be. As previously mentioned, Alexandre Desplat opened the film with a beautiful track, but that's not where it ends. This is by far the best composed film since Prisoner of Azkaban. There are so many deep and beautiful melodies that carry the film, that really make you feel for these characters and also help you understand how they truly feel. I think part 1 should be praised more for how much they tried in bringing the beginning of the final chapter in the most unique and heartbreaking way. This easily could have been a fairly boring movie with nothing to really look into, but this has everything going for it. It delivered a beautiful chapter in the Potter franchise that reminded us that even though these are magical characters, they are humans.
In your bag. Hermione. Hermione. Help me.
Such a beautiful place to be with friends. Dobby is happy to be with his friends.